It may be Friday out there, but it's Catterday in here. This is Murder Week for September 21st. First in old business, he's not doing well. That's what a source told People magazine about Chris Watts and his time on suicide watch. Watts was arrested last month and charged with the murder of his pregnant wife Shannon Watts and their young daughters Bella and Celeste. Continuing with the Chris Watts case, prosecutors are also seeking his inked barefoot impressions. For some reason,
Investigative reporter Ryan Luby live in the newsroom. And Ryan, prosecutors now want to look at his feet.
Yes, his feet in addition to his hands. Just this afternoon, we learned the district attorney's office has filed a motion asking to take inked footprints of Watts. The motion says the Colorado Bureau of Investigation found possible bare foot impressions on a bag. Investigators say they found the bag where they found the bodies of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts.
Todd Kolep's gun buyer is going to prison. Dustin Lawson was sentenced to 7 years on 36 federal weapons charges for his role in the murders of 7 people on Kohlhepp's farm. 1 year per corpse. Apparently he gets Kayla Brown for free. She got away. Well, that Malibu thing came back to bite me. It looks like there really is an active serial killer in Calabasas. Whereas if you focus on just the police, they are now saying a 4th victim was found in the hiking trails above Malibu. If you expand that area to what the blogs cover, that would be 8 bodies so far. For the 4th time in as many months, and as local residents talked in hushed tones about the crime-filled summer they've seen unfold, Los Angeles County Sheriff's detectives were called into the local hills to investigate the discovery of yet another corpse. Detectives were called to the Malibu Canyon area south of Calabasas after passersby discovered dead bodies in May and July. Detectives said it was likely that a Los Angeles street gang went to the canyon to dump the victims. Finally, Steve Green, father of Shasta Green, survivor of a kidnapping by serial child rapist Joseph Duncan when she was 8, has been ordered to move out of his North Idaho house. Shasta Green and her family were victimized by child molester and serial killer Joseph Duncan III in 2005. 2 of her brothers, her mother, and her mother's boyfriend were killed, and Shasta was held captive by Duncan for several weeks. A fund bought the house for her benefit, and after she moved out, they felt like they needed to sell it also for her benefit, even though her father already lived there. She objected to this. Turning to new business, a U.S. Border Patrol agent in Laredo has finally been exposed as a serial killer. Texas Department of Public Safety has released the identity of the 4th victim who was allegedly killed by Juan David Ortiz. Authorities say due to the connection to previous homicides, an autopsy was requested. Christopher Matthew Clements is up on 22 felonies relating to multiple sex crimes and the murder of 2 teenage girls in a sex crime career going back to 1998. One of these girls was only 6 when he killed her. Isabel was 6 when she vanished from her parents' East Side home in April 2012, and just 2 years later, Maribel, who was 13, disappeared while she was walking to a friend's house. They were both later found dead, and this indictment came last Saturday.
Detectives got their big break when they realized that the bodies were found in the same general area, about 10 miles off of I-10, several years apart.
The only scary thing that I perceive is people can be watching you. And you not know it.
Ann Clevenger remembers her son playing with 6-year-old Isabel Sellis, who lived just up the street. She helped with the search efforts for years. Now she could hardly believe someone was finally arrested for her murder.
I hope that the parents can have closure now.
By the way, in case you're interested, Arizona Family and Phoenix News is all about their YouTube channel. That's 3TV, KTVK, and CBS5 KPHO Arizona. This is great stuff for anyone interested in what it looks like when local news cares about their social media audience. Link in the description, obviously. A murder of a great-grandmother in South Africa has led police to suspect a pair of serial killers. In all 4 of these cases, the same modus operandi was used, overpowering the aged women and stuffing their mouths with a cloth before tying them up and making off with small items that are easy to transport and sell. It's been a busy week for mass shootings, so here's a look at the mass shooting tracker for this week. Find this at massshootingtracker.org. Now moving on to legal news. You are a serial killer. Strong words from the judge who sentenced Jorge Torres for killing 2 little girls in Zion outside Chicago. More than 13 years after the bodies of 2 young girls were found in a Zion park, one of the most heinous crimes in Lake County history was resolved through a plea deal Tuesday morning and was sentenced by Lake County to 100 years in prison. 8 and 9. Judge Daniel Shanes said the killing of the 2 girls as well as Torres' conviction in a separate murder and other abductions and assaults placed Torres at a level beyond most murder defendants. That is when he called him a serial killer. Speaking of serial killers, in Australia, the Claremont serial killer is in court. Bradley Robert Edwards is back. He's charged with the murders of Sarah Spires, Jane Rimmer, and Ciara Glennon in the 1990s, and he's finally going to trial. Child pornography is the reason for the dramatic, unexplained, secretive, and characteristically heavy-handed and pointlessly broad FBI raid on a small solar observatory and surrounding community that took place last week.
Meanwhile, a New Mexico observatory that shut down for security reasons is expected to reopen today. The National Solar Observatory in Sunspot was evacuated last week as a safety precaution. Sunspot is near Alamogordo. Officials were concerned that a suspect in a criminal investigation nearby could pose a threat to employees and nearby residents. The nature of that security concern has not been disclosed. Officials, however, say there is no longer a threat.
Serial killer and rapist Larry Ralston is up for parole.
Larry Ralston admitted to killing 5 women and raping 3 teenagers in the 1970s. One of those women was Linda K. Harmon. Ralston grabbed the 17-year-old at an Anderson Township bus stop. Her body was found a month later in Felicity. Ralston is serving 4 life sentences for his crimes.
An Austin man who advocates for the proliferation of 3D printed guns raped a girl. Caught on camera in Abilene, Texas. Let's watch as an argument over garbage turns into I have a gun and you don't, therefore I'm right.
Put the gun up and go inside.
A heated exchange between Aaron Howard and his 2 neighbors over a mattress. All of them making threats until eventually John Miller pulls the trigger on his pistol, shooting Howard. Then his son Michael shoots Howard with a shotgun. Carebox, Howard's fiance, captured 2 minutes of the deadly dispute on her cell phone.
And finally, Japan's Twitter killer walked out of an interview because the reporter wouldn't put money on his prison account. Suspected serial killer Takahiro Shiraishi said that in order to continue the interview, the newspaper would need to put money on his card so he could eat better in jail. A daughter of Fred West is giving interviews. Her parents sexually assaulted and murdered at least a dozen young women, including her older sister, now says she believes that they may have killed as many as 30 people. Fred West hanged himself in prison in 1995 before he could face trial. His wife, Rose West, was convicted in November 1995 of 10 murders and is serving life in prison. She's giving interviews, so she'll be on the circuit. Look her up. A Brit backpacker who escaped from Aussie serial killer Ivan Millet is also giving interviews.
We didn't know who we were chasing at that time, but the terror created by the offender really has stuck in the mind of the public in Australia
and you've written
and overseas.
And finally, Colorado serial killer Scott Kimball will be on Dateline tonight. Scott Kimball killed dismembered women in Westminster, suspected of killing up to 21 people. Dateline's Friday night broadcast will include profiles of Kimball's Colorado victims and interviews with FBI agent John Grusing and to others who have worked more than 12 years to hold Kimball accountable for all of his crimes. Turning to a Murder Week special report, the murder of over 400 cats in London has been blamed officially on foxes after a Scotland Yard investigation, but Murder Week has obtained an interview with a resident near Mesa, Arizona, who has information about that cat killer case. Let's take a look. So the cops are saying there are 2 locations that cats have been found around Mesa. So you're saying there may be a 3rd location?
I believe that there's a 3rd, though, more near where I live.
All right, so how long has this been going on?
This has been going on for a couple months, and my friend, who is in the location where I think might be the 3rd place, recounted what the cats look like and where she finds them and the state of the cats after they've been killed.
Okay, so how many cats are we talking about?
As of a couple months ago, she said that she had found 4 or 5.
Did she say the cats were butchered in the same way? Did she say how they were butchered?
Cut in half.
Holy crap, really? Like cut clean in half, like with a knife?
Clean cut in half. She said it wasn't like an animal had torn into them. She said that they had been cut in half intentionally or with skill.
And is this close to the other areas they've been finding dead cats?
Not quite the same cross streets, but pretty close.
Who do you think it is?
A random person in Mesa that, is either doing something occult or malicious, or they're just really fucked in the head.
This is crazy, disgusting stuff. You heard it here first on Murder Week. And that's going to be all this week. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell and whatnot. Thank you.